Guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I've got Matt Cama with me today. So Matt, he's got quite a good list of credentials. Matt's he's the founder of the Total Body Transformation Camp.
Yeah.
And so he does that. He's also an author. So he's the author of Secrets to Self-Love. That book's already out.
Yeah.
And he's about to release his second book, which is a Going Vegan Guide, and that will be out on the 19th of July. And he's also a YouTuber, and yeah, he's just generally a good guy. So definitely check out his YouTube channel. I seen a video from him, which I really enjoyed. It was sort of, he was getting really uncomfortable, but I'll leave a link for that and all those other things too, where you can check him out. So where I met Matt was, we went to a seminar down in Sydney, and we've got this arrow here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a fairly big arrow. We were at a seminar, and we had to break this arrow using the throat there, that soft part of your throat, of your neck there. And what we had to do is we had to put what we wanted to break free from, sort of symbolizing, something that was holding you back or whatever like that. And for me, it was the fear of success. So we'll just have a chat to Matt now. And what was on your arrow that you broke through?
Yeah, so I can't really remember exactly what was the actual language on there, but I know that it was something to do with breaking free from what people think, breaking free from that self-judgment with myself as well. And it was just a great metaphor to constantly remind myself that you can break through from it. And also, I remember with this, if any of you have done this before, that at first when I did it, I hesitated. I went through, but I was kind of hesitating, and I found that it was more painful. And then someone said to me, Matt, you just gotta walk as if it's not even there, just walk straight through it. And then when I did that, it broke easy. And for me, that was a good metaphor to say that anytime that you kind of hesitate, it's not just in terms of what I wrote down, but just in life. When you hesitate, it can be a lot more painful rather than just going straight through.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's what I wrote down there.
Yeah, that's good. So it was it was a great seminar, that one, and we learned quite a bit. And I met Matt. I seen Matt there. He had amazing energy, and I was just saying to him just before, I remember his energy and the way he came across. So sort of a takeaway for me is, if you want to be sort of remembered in that sort of situation, then it's important to have huge energy like he did, and here we are today. So first of all, I'd like to sort of get into the sort of background, the story. You've obviously achieved quite a lot for a young guy. So I just want to get into the story of how it all started. I know I've sort of seen a little bit where you were bullied as a kid.
Yeah.
So if you just want to sort of get into a little bit into the story and sort of how this has come about.
Yeah, for sure, because I know that's a lot of people who have no idea who the hell I am. So yeah, so my personal story begins when I was just a young kid. I think I was in year 7. I started at a school in Australia, in Newcastle. It was a sports school. So bit of a story. So picture this: you walk in, and if you were to look over to your right hand side, you'd see these fit, athletic kids walking around, just playing around with rugby league balls and netballs and stuff. But if you were to look over to your left hand side, you would have seen this small, chubby little black kid, right, just walking around. And I laugh at that now, especially when I look at photos and stuff. But back then, it was so hard because of what you just said. I got bullied. And I remember times where I would just, for example, go home and go straight into a room and just literally just bawl my eyes out because of what people were saying. I remember times where I'd go to the beach and where everyone was taking their shirts off, going straight in the water. I was always the kid that went into the water with my shirt on because I was so ashamed of showing people what I looked like. And even to the point where I was at home, for example, if I came out of the shower, I'd always make sure I put my shirt on before I go outside because I didn't even want to let my family see what my body looks like. I was so self-conscious to the point where I just literally hated being in social situations. And the moment where it all changed was a few things. One, my cousin, he went vegetarian at first. And he told me, I said to him, because I saw him just getting all these amazing results. So I said to him, what are you doing? and he said to me, number one, I'm not having any Coca-Cola, I'm not having any fizzy drinks, not having any takeaway, not having any meats. And back then, because that's pretty much just what I used to live on, I was like, I can do the rest of the things, but there's no way in hell I'm giving up meat. So we went back and forth, and eventually I got to the point where I stopped that, and I started to see a little bit of weight loss start to happen. And then I started to gain the weight back, and then what happened was, I just got to a point, I call it a threshold moment, where I was in Sydney one time, and I was walking through, and you know when you get to a point where you can kind of like catch yourself in the reflection of a window?
Yeah.
I was walking through, and then I saw myself in the mirror, and I just stopped, and I just got to the point where I was just so emotional, I just wanted to just bawl my eyes out, because I was constantly replaying back the words people were saying to me, and constantly feeling down about myself, and constantly comparing myself to all these people. And then when I just saw that, because I was wearing a tight shirt, I saw my belly sticking out, I just said to myself, I can't do this. And I remember I went into the bathrooms, and I just locked the door and just started to just bawl. And I just let out all this emotion, and I got to the point where I just said, enough is enough. I gotta start training, I gotta start moving, I gotta start eating right. I can't get to the point where I feel so uncomfortable with myself, where I feel unattractive to girls, where I can't go to the beach and show my body. I have to avoid social situations. And then from that point, I just started training, and I became addicted, really. And yeah, that's how the health journey really started.
Yeah, and then so now we talk about the vegetarianism and all that sort of thing. I know you got a book coming out, Going Vegan Guide. So
yeah.
You've obviously really gone down that path of the plant-based sort of diet, the vegan diet.
Yeah.
And I know you're huge into the lifestyle as well, with a lot of your videos on the YouTube where you're doing crazy sort of stuff, like and to prove that you can do that on a vegan diet, and to sort of go through the pain and suffering of yourself for the animals as well.
Yeah.
Just have a little chat about one, about the sort of going vegan, and then two, about the things that you're doing now to sort of raise awareness for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, I need to say this because I know that some people watching this who aren't vegan are probably having this exact same thought. I remember before I even went vegan, I didn't even know what that was. I remember I had clients who were vegetarian, and I used to think they were stupid. I used to think that they were like dumb. I used to think that, why are you doing that? I remember specifically posting pictures of me eating kangaroo, and which is just blows my mind thinking about that now. And clients saying, why are you doing this? Clients messaging me and posting on my Facebook. So for those of you who are wondering or thinking that, I get it. You know what I mean? So how I went vegan was, this is when I was a personal trainer, and I was in the staff room, and I was just eating some steak, right? I was eating some steak, and then all of a sudden, as most people do, sometimes usually just browse through Facebook or Instagram while you're eating. And I was browsing through one day, and it popped up, someone said, why I'm vegan. And it said farm to fridge. And I don't know if you've seen that video, and if you haven't, go and watch it, farm to fridge.
We'll put a link for that. We'll put a link for that in the description.
And I pressed play, and then I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I remember, like, I was so stunned about exactly what was going on, because I had no idea. And I always say this, that most people just see the products. They see the steak, they see the chicken, they see the veal, they see the burger, and they don't actually see what's all behind that. And for me, that was the first time I wasn't seeing the products, I was seeing the process. And when I saw that, I just said to myself, I can't support this. There is no way in hell that I can constantly go to McDonald's or go to anywhere and, you know, support, even though I can't even see what's going on, but with my money, I'm supporting this slaughter to animals. And for me at first, there was so much resistance, because I was thinking about, where am I gonna get my protein? You know, I've heard so many people get skinny from all these things, and people saying, Matt, you shouldn't do this, you're gonna get too skinny, and all these different things. And the truth is, I did. I got way too skinny, and the reason why I'm creating this guide is because a lot of people go into veganism without knowing exactly how much food you're supposed to be having. And just like anything, because vegan food it's like very high in vitamins and nutrients, but very low in calories. Because I was eating pretty much the exact same amount of food that I was having when I was eating meat, I was going so much lower in calories, which allowed me to strip off so much body fat and lose muscle. But now if you get it right, just like with anything, you will start to gain that body fat, you will start to gain that muscle as well.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where that just went there, but hopefully that
answered the question. Yeah, we're talking about the veganism and why you decided and all that sort of thing, and you touched on some great points. And if we are making that change to a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, there's mindsets and beliefs that we need to change, we need to get rid of, because they don't hold in a new sort of diet and stuff like that. And then also we're sort of moving down the track of you raising awareness for animals, for the suffering and stuff like that. And I see that you do been doing some events, some endurance sort of stuff and all that sort of stuff. If you want to quickly touch on that sort of stuff.
So the reason why I do that, and you kind of just touched on that just then, is with veganism, with this especially, it's not so much about learning new things, it's more about unlearning. And I feel that with being the example, which is a big part in the book, being the example of what is possible on a vegan lifestyle. And being the example, that doesn't mean you have to do some crazy events like I do. It just means being the healthiest possible version of you. And I think that as you do that, you do start to help people unlearn certain things. You break through that paradigm of thinking that all vegans are weak or all vegans can't gain muscle. And as you start to be that example, it really does break through people's paradigm of thinking. So for example, with me, doing a 100-kilometer run within 24 hours, and me just keeping the intention that there was two intentions every single time that I do these events. One was for myself, to show myself what is possible on a vegan lifestyle, or not even just that, just show myself what my body can achieve. And as I do that, it starts to allow me to train more harder, it starts to allow me to train my clients more harder, and it starts to translate into other areas of my life. For example, with business, because I say to myself, there is no way in hell that I thought that I could do that. So what else in my life do I not think that I can do, but I actually can do? It's just a thought pattern. So that's one of the reasons why I constantly like to go longer, or constantly train myself harder. And the second reason, which is what I just said, helping people unlearn, helping people break through, and just being the example of what's possible. So doing a 100-kilometer run, or doing the True Grit event, which was a 24-hour obstacle course run, just doing all these crazy events, I just love it. Yeah, for that reason.
Yeah, and if you want to check those videos out too, we can put those videos in the description. He puts them on his YouTube channel there. It's great to watch and sort of see the mindset behind what it takes to sort of do such an event, how tough it is and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And let's just talk about that for a minute. When things are getting tough, whether it's business, whether it's any sort of day-to-day life, whether it's doing a True Grit or anything like that, what are the things that sort of keep you motivated to push through and sort of break through those things that are holding you back?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I do. One of the things that I like to do is anytime that something that does come up, this is something that I just learned recently, is I'm not in a rush to get out of that emotion. And I feel that it's a beautiful thing if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling angry, not to label that as a bad emotion. But it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel stressed with business. It's part of life.
Yeah.
There's times where you're gonna feel happy and feel amazing, and there's times where you're gonna feel like sad. And I feel that you shouldn't judge this emotion down here. You shouldn't judge a bad emotion. So when that emotion does come up with me, I acknowledge it and realize that it's there, and realize that this is just a part of life, but I don't live there.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between feeling it or living in that emotion. So for example, this happened yesterday. I was feeling frustrated because of a certain thing that happened in my life, and I acknowledged that it was there, and I just sat with it. I just felt it in my body. And one of the things that I've learned recently is just really to experience it and allow that emotion to just play out. Because a lot of people, and what I used to do personally, and I don't know if some of you guys do the same thing, is that when an emotion comes up, a lot of people try and block that out, or they distract themselves from even acknowledging it in the first place. Yeah. They feel stressed, oh no, don't worry about it, and they distract themselves through food or porn or TV, and they don't really go deep into what's actually happening. Yeah. So when that comes up, I acknowledge that it's there, and then two, I just change my emotional state. Whether that, for me, the fastest way is just going for a walk, changing my body, changing how I'm breathing, changing how my face. And then another thing that I like to do is just really change the self-talk that's going on in my head. So ask myself new questions, because that's all thinking is.
Yeah.
Thinking is just questions, answering, questioning, questionings. Yeah, it's just questions and answers.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
So for me, directing my focus to different thoughts by asking myself certain questions.
Yeah.
So this is a great question that I highly recommend that everyone asks. I was driving and I asked myself, what do I have to believe to feel sad right now? Because I was feeling sad. And then I started to say, what do I have to believe that, I'll just give you an example of things in the past that I've said. So in order for me to feel sad, I'd have to believe that that life is happening to me and not for me. And I said to myself, for example, okay, well, what would I have to believe in order for me to feel happy right now? And I have to believe that everything is a miracle. I'd have to believe that life is happening for me, not to me. I'd have to believe that I'm guided right now, and everything that is happening, even though I'm labeling it, and even though I don't want this to happen, I'd have to believe that this is guiding me in the direction that I need to go. And when I do that, it just really makes me feel a lot better, because I'm changing the meaning. You know what I mean? A lot of people, like, when I break out of that emotional state by going for a walk, that's a short-term emotional fix. But when you go deep and you start to change the meaning, long-term, that changes it changes your emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And that's just, what you're giving there is great advice. I know for me, when things got tough in my life, previously, I would suppress, hold it down, and then I was a heavy drinker, so I would then start drinking, and then it was the same thing. It was a loop, and I just went round and round and round. I didn't understand what was happening, and then just suppressed those feelings, started drinking and all that sort of thing. And I think that's massive what you're sort of telling everyone there, and there's so much gold to take away from that. And it's just, you gotta be aware. You gotta sit back and sort of have a look at what you're thinking about, have a look how you're feeling, and like you said, not to try and suppress that. You're feeling that for a reason.
Yeah.
So go deep and sort of work it out from going deep down and sort of thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's great.
And but when you said with running as well, that's a different thing. Like when you're running, it's probably not the best to just sit in that emotion. For example, when I did the True Grit, there was so much negative thoughts that were just coming up.
Yeah.
I remember my fourth lap when it was cold. If you watch the video, you'll see the whole entire journey. But there was a point in time where I just said, I want to quit. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because it was cold, and I was going slow, and I was getting chafe, and it was just heavy, and it was just so damn, it's just the worst but best experience ever.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is, I like to do, it's called incantations.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an affirmation. I got this from Tony Robbins. He talks about this, where you basically just speak out loud something, like, I am unstoppable. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You say that with total emotion, total confidence, and you say that again and again and again, and it just rewires your brain, especially when you're in that time where you just feel like quitting. So when I was running, I was saying, I am amazing, I can do this, and I'm unstoppable. And saying that again and again and again, that really helps me. Like, if you see me, ever see me jogging, you'll see me just talking to myself. I don't really care. So when I go through cars, yesterday I went for a run, I was running, there was heaps of traffic, and I was just like speaking to myself, probably people thinking that I'm a weirdo, but who gives a shit?
That's it, who gives a shit, yeah. And I sort of looked through your YouTube stuff, and I've seen a really good video where you were at the shopping center and you went to the mall, you went into the food court, and you pretty much out as loud as you could, you were singing a Justin Bieber song.
Yes.
And I just we'll have a link for that video too, because it's such a good video. And it just shows, like, Matt's obviously working on some stuff there, which we'll talk about. But he's sort of putting himself in that uncomfortable position and sort of challenging himself as well. And you can see all that emotion, you can see all that energy coming up in the video, and it's great. And I was just saying to Matt before that I used to play cricket, and when I would go out and play a big game, I'd have all those feelings, and I could really feel it for him, what you're about to do. So just quickly run through sort of why you did that video, and then sort of the feelings and the things you sort of learnt from that.
Yeah.
So
when I did that video, I was part of a coaching program, and the name is Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos. And part of their program was the very first week, they gave us a challenge. And the challenge was for different personality types to go out there and do a challenge. So some people had to go out and sing in public, which I got. Some people had to go and dance in public. Some people who are so good at talking and just don't really listen to people, their challenge was to go out and just, they had a sign and said something like, "I'm here to listen." And they just had to sit there for an hour, and people just came up and they weren't allowed to speak. They just had to sit there and listen to people's stories. And for some people, that was just as scary as my thing. So for personality types that was so self-conscious and constantly thinking about what people think, that was my thing that I had to break through from. So what I did was, I went into a shopping center and I had to go out into the food court and just sing my ass off for 60 seconds.
I was quite impressed at how good a voice you had too.
It was so bad. And I remember I went there with a friend, and he's trained in NLP, like neuro-linguistic programming. So I went with him because I knew that some things were going to come up, a lot of fear. And I remember, picture this, if you were there, you would have been me walking in, and me just like, my head is down, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this. And it's just like, I had so much nervousness, my hands were shaking. And then if you were to look up, if you were to look in the food court, at first, when we first got there, it was packed. And I was like, there is no way in hell I'm going out there. And then my friend Josh, which you'll see in the video, he's like, "Man, you just gotta do it." He's like, "Just go out there and do it." And it took me 30 to 45 minutes for me to actually do it. So I remember I went into the bathroom and I just started to talk to myself, and I took a few deep breaths. I started to move myself, just move myself around, and I said, "Stuff it, I'm gonna go out there and do it." And I went out there, and my friend like did all these little mind techniques that he does on NLP, and I just went out there and I just sang. But the reason why I was doing that was because I wanted to break free from just what people think, and especially with singing, because I don't really label myself having a good voice. It was so scary. And I remember when I first started, everyone just went totally quiet. All eyes was just straight on me. I could hear my voice echoing, and I just had fun with it though.
Yeah.
So when I first started, it was nerve-wracking. Yeah. But then when I kept going and moving around, I found myself, this is actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a scary experience. But like I was saying, when you do these things, it's not just like magic. Like all of a sudden, now I'm healed. I don't care what people think. This stuff still happens today. Like every single day, I still go through those things. But what I'm really good at is catching those thoughts, and not just thoughts, but catching those emotions that come up. So when I'm sitting down and I have a thought pattern like, oh, I need to make sure that I need to change the way that I'm looking. I need to change my shirt around. I need to do certain things. I'm aware of that, and then from that point, from that awareness, then I can change it. I can acknowledge that it's there, and then realize that I don't need to do anything to feel that feeling of validation. Because a lot of people, which I was doing, was I was constantly looking on the outside, changing my hair, changing my clothes, changing my body, changing my bank account, changing my business, getting a new girl or different things. And the only thing that I was chasing was an emotion. It wasn't the actual thing. It wasn't the actual tangible thing. It was just an emotion. And when I stopped looking outside and started looking inside, that's when my life changed.
Yeah.
And that's what I love to teach. Like that's self-love. To not look outside, but to look in.
Yeah. You can see when it comes across, when he starts to talk about that sort of stuff, how passionate you are about that.
Hell yeah.
How much you love it. And the other thing I learned from that video is when you walked in, you said it was 45 minutes before you got out there. And if you watch the video and see his face, like the pain he's going through,
so bad.
And it's all from what you were thinking. Like you were just thinking, like it was nothing. No one was hurting you. No one was physically touching you or anything like that. It was just, this is what's going on in his head, and you can see, like, it's just such a great video to see that transformation of how much you talk to yourself, and you can say, oh, this is going to be bad, this is going to be bad, and you can feel that in your body. So those thoughts, those beliefs, you feel that in your body, that tenseness, you feel that in your body.
And what's interesting is those things happen every single day, just not on that extreme level. People are having these internal thoughts, right? Just like what I'm doing on that video. So they're having all these internal thoughts, and it stops them from certain things. Whether that be to go and say hi to that girl, whether that be to go to that social event because they're so caught up in how they look, or whether that be to start that business. Or it's a great metaphor, because I remember when I first got there, it literally felt like I was stepping into death, metaphorically. Like I was like, no, I can't do this. And it happens every single day with so many people because this is holding them back.
Yeah.
So it's such an important thing to break free from. I think it's one of the most important things.
Yeah, 100%.
To break free from what people think.
Yeah.
And I don't think they, maybe, I don't really know this, I don't think you're ever going to be totally free.
Yeah.
But if you can get that awareness of your thoughts and feelings, it's like, just life changes.
Yeah, yeah. And you talked about this is the stuff you go through every day. Is there certain things that you do, like daily habits, where you, I don't know, do you meditate? Are there things that you would do every day to sort of help with all your mindset, all this stuff that you're talking about?
Yeah, I would be lying if I say I meditate every single day.
Yeah.
I meditate when I go to the gym and I'm going to the sauna. So about 2 hours before this, I was meditating in the sauna. In the mornings when I feel like I want to, I go and meditate. So probably out of every single week, realistically, probably 3 or 4 days a week, that's when I meditate. But constantly, I feel like I practice myself, and it's just like a muscle. Just like with everything, self-awareness is just like a muscle. If at first, it's gonna take a lot of conscious effort to really go, wow, that thought just came up, or wow, I'm feeling this emotion, and it's coming from here, or it's coming from there. And the more that you do it, the more that it's just like an unconscious habit, just like driving a car. First, you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, you don't really think. You're just like, and that's what I feel now. So when I'm with someone, and the thought pattern comes up, I'm like, oh, what the hell? What just happened there? And I go in my head a little bit, then I come back to this conversation. Or I'm having a conversation, and this feeling comes up, and I'm like, what's this all about? Like, where's this feeling coming from? And then what I was saying before this, it's so important to really go deep and find out why those feelings coming up. It could be a feeling of resentment towards someone, and that could be because you're comparing them and you're jealous of that thing. And so why are you jealous? Why am I jealous? Why do I feel jealous? Because I don't look like that. Or why is that even important? And you just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I feel like it's a skill, because I don't feel like you're born with it. It's a skill that you need to develop in order for you to break through from that caring what people think.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And have you always thought this way? Have you always been like this?
No.
And so how long have you been on this sort of journey where you've sort of gone deep and looked into the way you think and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it started when I was about 17 years old. I was scrolling through Facebook, and my friends posted a video. You probably know who he is, like Eric Thomas,
yeah.
the hip hop preacher.
Yeah.
The famous one that most people know about is how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I remember I saw that, and I got this feeling in my body when he said that. What did he say? When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And it stuck with me so much because that's when I was first starting being a personal trainer. And I remember I just had goosebumps all over me, and it stuck with me so much because it gave me a reality check that I was saying that I wanted all these things, but I was just doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
I was someone that talked a lot, but
Yeah,
did
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
And then from that point, it led me just on a journey of meeting different people and then tell me about mentors, and Tony Robbins was like a massive, I guess, mentor in just helping me out. And then from that point, I just become addicted to just learning every single day, reading books, watching YouTube videos, and people, and also myself. I feel I'm the biggest teacher ever,
yeah.
because of what comes on in here.
Yeah.
Like, those two things are so important. Like, these two things are your biggest mentors, your thoughts and your feelings.
Yeah.
If you become aware of that, that's like a mentor constantly in your face, because it's going to reveal to you so many things that you would never. But the biggest thing that you need is that courage, because it takes a lot to really go face to face with yourself. Because most people don't want to. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to look at them thought patterns. They don't want to look at those feelings because there's a lot of fear comes up. So they distract themselves through food, through sex, through TV, through anything. Alcohol,
yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
And that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
yeah. So obviously, yeah. So you're big into the mentors and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Have your group of friends, has the people that you sort of surround yourself with changed at all from before that to now?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I used to hang out with people who just used to drink and used to go out and used to focus on just getting girls on the weekends and all those different things. And I'm so grateful for that, because that had to happen in order for me to get here. And now I constantly just hang around people who are like-minded, who are constantly wanting to get healthy, who do have that business mindset, who are very driven. And as I surround myself with them, one of the things, it allows me to go, wow, if these people are doing it at this level, why? Like it kind of like gives me that social pressure for me to step up my game.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's such a great thing to hang out with people who are like-minded, or even better than you,
Yeah.
in your mind thinking.
Yeah.
In all areas of the life that you're trying to improve.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that there is that definite, you're surrounding yourself with people that are doing more than you, and you sort of raise your game to lift up to their standards. And it's the same thing too, is you've raised your game to that standard, and there's going to be people that are below you that you can help pull up as well. So it's sort of like a two-way street where you're going to grow, but then there's going to be people that want help from you, and you sort of pull them up as well. Which is, I know you're very passionate about the stuff that you teach on your YouTube channel, and you're doing that sort of stuff by giving back and all that sort of thing, which is obviously great to see. Has there been any instances where that you can remember where friends were not happy that you were decided that you wanted to be someone else, you wanted to be a little bit more successful, you changed your mindset, anything like that?
Probably maybe they just didn't say it. I can't recall anyone that actually said that to me. And if they did, I probably wouldn't really give a shit. But
and I think that's great. I think like this is an important thing for anyone sort of out there that's having trouble with a certain part of their life, and we can tend to try and get out of it. For me, I know I tried to sort of leave that drinking alcohol every weekend, yet I was always dragged back into it. It was something that was very hard for me to sort of get away from. So I think it's very important that you guys out there might be going through something where you're trying to get away from it, but you're constantly getting pulled back down from that. So it is an important factor for us to try and be able to move away from. And you talk about how not giving a shit, like it's easier to say, but if you can get to that point, your life's going to sort of grow exponentially.
And everyone's personality types, like for me, I feel like I could do that because if I say I want to do something and someone's saying, Matt, I'm kind of like the rebellious kind of thing. If someone says to me, Matt, don't touch that red button, I'm going to go, fuck you, boom, and touch it. So can I swear on this? Cool. Okay, sweet.
We'll put a disclaimer on that.
Sweet. For example, it's the same thing like if something happens, but I know that everyone's different. So if you are experiencing that, what I always say to people is the best thing for you to do is just let them know why. Like, I'm making this decision and here's why it's so important for me. And when they know the why, because a lot of people, they'll say, Matt, they'll say for example, you say, Matt, I'm going to stop drinking. And I'm like, okay, well, and then I might feel that resentment. But if you go, Matt, I'm going to stop drinking, and the reason why I'm going to do this is because, look, I just feel like I'm changing and I want to become better. And all of a sudden, if that friend is a genuine friend, they're going to go, you know what, I respect that. Rather than going, did you just tell me, or just not tell me at all. So I feel like it's a big thing to tell people what you're doing and also why, and then all of a sudden people will have that empathy and they'll understand. And if not, then obviously that person's not meant to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good. Also, in sort of terms of you talk about how you doing things that's sort of uncomfortable and all that sort of thing. If you had something major coming up or something like that you're a bit anxious about, had those sort of feelings in like about something coming up, is there certain things that you would do to sort of work through those feelings? I know you talk about asking yourself, why am I feeling this and all that sort of thing. Is that just something that you would continually do? Why am I feeling like this? And then sort of move from there? Yeah,
so one of the things, the words, right? So one of the things that I'm very conscious of as well is the language that I use. So I never use the word anxious, ever. And I feel like when people, like for example, anytime that you put a label on an experience, it now becomes the experience. And it's the same thing, for example, when I say stress because people understand that, but I don't use the word stress. Right? I say I got the niggles. And when I say that, I'm like, what the hell, I got the niggles. So for example, I remember I was typing one time, and the reason why I changed this because my mom said something to me, and I just snapped because I was like trying to be focused and I was just stressed. And I had to go for a massive walk, and I said to myself, what word could I use differently that wouldn't allow me to go back into that emotion? And the word I came up with was niggles, because it was stupid. It was like a stupid little word. So now when I use that, it allows me to not go deep. It breaks my state. It makes me laugh instead of going into that emotion. So with anxious, I don't use that. I may feel a little bit uneasy. right?
Yeah.
So if I ever do feel uneasy, one of the things that I do is I always go back to this. Because when someone's feeling anxiety, what it basically is just a change in focus, like what they're focusing on, and their breathing patterns. They start breathing through their chest and breathing really shallow, really sharp breaths, rather than breathing deep. So when I'm doing a seminar, for example, I really focus on just my breathing patterns and start to take the attention off me, because whenever I'm feeling anxious, for example, in that context, it is all the attention's on me. Like, what am I gonna look like? Am I gonna perform well? Rather than going, breathing deep, and then my focus goes, how can I serve them? How can I have a good time for them? How can I make a good time for them? And then all of a sudden, the emotion changes. So, yeah, but for any context, breath is the fastest way to make you feel relaxed.
Yeah, and you see it all the time. You'll see when people are getting stressed out, if they're smokers, they'll run outside, they'll have a cigarette, and then
For that
big
reason.
breath in, and then big breath out. And they think it's a cigarette that's calming them down, but it's that breath, that big breath is helping them get back centered and sort of back in the present moment. So that's great. That's awesome, man. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I've learned a lot myself, and I'm sure all the listeners and the YouTube followers are learning a lot as well. I'll put in the description below how you can get in contact with Matt if you want to talk to Matt. But yeah, I'll also put in the description, the videos that we spoke about, all the stuff that we spoke about. But awesome, man. Really appreciate your time.
No worries, man.
And I look forward to many more conversations.
Definitely, 100%.
Thanks, man.